Pick a move in the ring. You can hit me with the words you fling.
All right, it's the post-fight podcast at 10:57 p.m. in Hong Kong. I think it's 10:57 a.m. in Canada with Tom Taylor. I'm Nick Atkin, and SCMP.com/MMA. We're going to be bringing you UFC 251 Virtual Media Day tonight. We've got Alex Volkanovski and Max Holloway coming up with their interviews. Tom, I wanted to get your thoughts on this huge matchup before Max is due to step in any minute now, but it's a huge fight, isn't it? Can't wait to see what Max has to say. More importantly, I can't wait to see if he's still got that haircut.
Yeah, it's a great matchup. I kind of feel like maybe it's not getting the hype it deserves, actually. It kind of came together fairly quickly, but it is a huge rematch. We've got a very promising new champion against one of the best fighters in the division's history. A lot of variables at play in terms of the training they've both been able to do, in terms of their focus and their motivation. There was talk of Holloway not even wanting the rematch to begin with. So yeah, there are a lot of questions to be answered here, but it's going to be a fascinating matchup on Saturday night. Yeah,
we can see they are flickering into life here. The Max is coming, so we're going to shut the hell up. All right, let's hear what Max has to say.
We are now joined by former UFC featherweight champion and number one contender, Max Holloway. Max, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having. How you doing, boss?
Very good, thanks. We'll go first to Nolan King with MMA Junkie. Your line has been unmuted.
Hey, Max, welcome back, man. Just let me know how you're feeling coming into this one. Thoughts, emotions, give it to me. How you feeling coming into this one?
This guy's asked for 1 second.
Send them more quality.
Adding a microphone.
You good? What was the question again, boss?
I was just wondering how you're feeling coming into this one. Obviously, a lot to be made about this rematch. How are you feeling?
I feel great, man. I feel great. Back-to-back 48-hour of quarantines for me. I got to do a hiker Holloway in my room here in Abu Dhabi. Me hiking to my bed 2 times in a row. It's a treacherous hike. It was crazy. It was tough, but somebody had to do it, and I did it. I got it done, and we're here now.
Yeah, hopefully you didn't tire yourself out too much, man. But a lot's to be made about this match, and just kind of wondering, was there any thought in your mind to maybe take another fight before you jumped right back into a rematch, try to kickstart some more momentum, or was that something you didn't even really think about coming into this one?
I want to know every fight, man. So this is another fight to me. Whatever the UFC wants, whatever the fans want, this is a fight they came with us. They came to us, and why turn it down? At the end of the day, I wasn't over here petitioning like these other guys for anything. The champ called me out. He called me out. So at the end of the day, that's why we're here. Ain't no fight. Ain't no take a fight, get momentum, this and that. It's just a fight. It's just another fight, and I can't wait to go out there and do my thing.
And you say how you say how Alex called you out. You don't usually see that from a guy that wins a belt, where he kind of calls out the guy he just beat. So why do you think that is?
I have no idea. That's a question you probably got to ask him. I think he got media today, so you can ask him that question. I can't answer for the man.
I'll do just that. Now, his coach, Eugene Behrman, did a few interviews recently. He was very respectful towards you. But one of the things he said that I thought was really interesting, he said he felt like you couldn't undo years of training to make the right adjustments to beat Alex. Kind of what's your response to that? How do you go when you were in the gym? Do you feel like you made the proper adjustments looking at that first fight?
I wasn't really in the gym for this one. The whole pandemic and stuff. We was doing this through Zoom, but he can say what he said. He got successful fighters. He think he knows the in and out of the fight game because of his guys that he got in his stable. But at the end of the day, I like to believe I'm a different breed. The beautiful thing, this is all talk. I can say one thing, I can fight his words or whatever, but we get to find out come at the end of the week. So I'm excited.
For sure, man. And last question for you. I guess, what's your prediction? How do you get it done in this one?
I'm going to go out there, do my thing, have fun with it. And, wise man once said, don't leave it to the judges. They only make you cry. So that's my mind, you know. My mind says go out there. You know, if it's a decision, it's a decision again. But I'm looking for a finish, you know. I want to finish. It's been a while since I finished, so that would be good fun.
Appreciate the time, Max. Good luck, man.
Thank you, brother.
We'll go next to Ezekiel Bergonzi with Super Luchas. Your line is unmuted.
Hello, Max. How are you?
Good, boss. How you doing?
Fine, thank you. I wanted to ask you, how did it went the Zoom training? What can you tell us about that?
My coach was he'd do this meeting. I would go to Zoom app, join it. We'd run our workout, and that's all we'd do. Actually, some classes was for the whole class. Like we actually do Zoom classes because our whole gym went to training online, and that's what we'd do. We'd end up training. I'd have times, I have hours I got to check in, and we get it done.
Are you going to do sparring in these days, or you are only to rely on what you did in Zoom training, and that's only? What are you going to do?
All the hard work is done. There's no reason for me to be training couple days out of the fight. So the work is done. Everything is done. And all we got to do is maintain, lose a little weight, and get out there and do our thing.
And I wanted to ask you if you think that these kind of virtual trainings are something that we are here to stay in MMA, or is something that it just will be a story from the past in the near future. What do you think about that?
Oh, what was the question again?
If you think that this type of training through virtual platforms are something that will be here to stay, or it will be something that will be moving on in the near future?
Hopefully we can move on. You know, there's that pandemic going on. There's this pandemic going on right now, and hopefully we can move on from it. I mean, hopefully we can find a vaccine and people can start getting healed, or we have at least something to help people get healed. So that's my best case scenario. You know, I hope this pandemic we can get through it sooner than later.
Well, my last question is about a prediction. How do you think Jose Aldo will do against Petr Yan?
You know, I'm a fight fan. I'm super excited. You know, I'm a big Jose Aldo fan too. So we'll see what happens. I just can't wait to go out there and see Aldo do his thing.
Thank you very much, and good luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
We'll go next to Gabriel Gonzalez with Cape Side Press. Your line is open.
Hey, Max. I was just curious. You've called Vegas the 9th island, Toronto the 10th. Is Yas Island number 11?
I mean, that's the only right thing to say. We're in the 11th island, baby. So we're here. I'm kind of bummed that me and my team can't really go venturing around like we usually do and really get into it and really learn the culture. I'm sad about that part, but maybe here in the future, later on when everything is figured out and, you know, this pandemic thing slows down, we can come back and actually get to know the land, get to know the culture better, and really take this 11 island on.
Looking at the featherweight division, obviously this is the huge fight and it's your priority. When you look at some of the other guys doing work right now, Yair, Zabit, Korean Zombie, who do you think is up there that might be in the title fight next?
I have no idea, to be honest. I don't know who's next. I don't even know the rankings. I just fight, man. I just want to fight, and whoever UFC comes with me, sends me a contract, we sign the dotted line, and we be on our way.
To go back to the early days of the pandemic, everyone really responded to your message about, hey, I'm a public figure, but we all got to maintain our distance. I can't take a picture with you, but if you want, you can point to the floor. I'm curious, I mean, you must be the most popular guy in Hawaii when you're outside. Were fans, you know, were they doing the Ricardo Lamas? Were they trying to do that when you were out and around?
Yeah, there was. There's actually being real respectful of it. You know, they read my post, and it gave me my space, and we all knew what was important during that time. You know, they were saying social distance, and this pandemic is no joke. You know, and they know. You know, there's a lot of elderly people in Hawaii, and a lot of young people too. So I know they don't want to put their family at risk or my family. So, you know, respect to them.
I was watching the DC and Helwani, and Cormier said that he had to apologize to you because he kind of gave away too much in the recent detail.
Yeah.
Can you just talk about, you know, I guess, what was that conversation like?
It is what it is. You know, DC is doing his job, which makes me mad because you know the next fight after this one is the baddest man on the planet title, super heavyweight, myself versus him. So he better go do his job August, because I'm gonna do my job this upcoming weekend, and we can fight for this baddest man on the planet belt.
The final question, he said that when he asked you about the whole Zoom training and all this stuff, if you were serious, that your corner people or your friends were laughing in the background saying you were messing with them. Can you just confirm, like, is it true? Like, are you messing with all of us, or did you seriously do this? Just you by yourself?
I seriously did this Zoom stuff. You know, I was a big advocate of staying home, being smart, making all the right decisions, especially with the lockdown in Hawaii. It was super serious when this pandemic happened. So it was serious, man. I'm serious about it. You know, everybody keep thinking, I don't believe them. I don't do this. I had four title fights in a matter of 12 months. I got a bunch of experience. I don't need sparring. I've been sparring since I was 16. I'm 28 now. I've been sparring a bunch, and it's just good to reset. It was like a hard reset for me, and I feel great.
Hey, thank you, Max. Best of luck.
Thank you, brother.
We'll go next to Jim Varsalone with the Miami Herald. Your line is open.
All right, thank you. So when you first heard about the idea of Dana White's UFC Fight Island, what did you think?
I was thinking hopefully that island is Oahu, Hawaii.
When did you get to Fight Island? How was the transportation there? Small group bringing? And what is it like on Fight Island?
We got here Sunday morning early. It's just crazy, you know. We went to Vegas. We did a quarantine there. We came here. We did another 48-hour quarantine. It was pretty cool. And like I understand all the procedures and all the precautions that UFC is making us take, and I respect that. So it's just my time here been pretty much inside a hotel, you know. But it's just another fight week, so I can't wait.
Yeah, because I was curious, are there restaurants around inside where you guys are able to go, or is it just really the hotel and the fighting area and things like that, or did they develop it and build a little more for you guys to do a little bit at least?
I mean, there is some open stuff, but the way our training and the way we fighting time here is like pretty much everything's closed. I mean, there's restaurants. When we first got here, well, it was super cool. Like the hotel was feeding not only the fighters but the whole teams too. Like they just come drop off food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that was super sick. And yeah, you know, there's some things open on the island. There's a big, I guess, a big quarantine safe area for us, but we have yet to explore.
Well, what's it also like being a part of this? Because really, you're part of history, part of the first show on Fight Island.
This is huge. This is huge for sure. You know, like you said, this is a big card. This card is supposed to be like International Fight Week, you know, and especially with all this pandemic coming on and everything, it is just insane that I get to be a part of this card, and I'm happy. You know, this, like what you said, this is history. No one's gonna be able to take this away from me. You know, I get to edge my name in the history books, and here we go on the weekend.
And lastly, for me, again, thank you. I like your mask, and the message there is bless yourself. Can you tell us a little bit about the mask and the message?
You know, always make sure you bless yourself. You know, I talked about it. I talked about you know, depression a little bit when I was going through it in 18 during those crazy times. All the doctor stuff was going on, and you know, that helped me get out of it was good people, good friends, good families, and everyone. But at the end of the day, you gotta bless yourself first, and then you start receiving blessings from everybody else. So that's the message.
Hey, all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
We'll go next to Gabriel Pangalangan with Dojo Drifter. Your line is open. Gabriel, can you hear us? Okay, we'll go to Joe Coleman with. Joe, your line is open.
Hi there.
Hello.
Hi, Max. First and foremost, I've just got to compliment you on your spectacular lockdown here. I know it's been growing out this whole time. Can fans expect to see you sort of showing that off in the octagon, or are you going to treat us to a little snap before you get in there?
No way. I'm keeping the hair. You know, you guys got Fade Max for first part of my UFC career. The last part, get used to the hair. It might even be a little bit more longer here in the future. So it's here to stay, guys.
Amazing. For the first time in what feels like an eternity, you're entering a featherweight world title fight as a challenger. Has that changed your mindset at all during this fight, or are you still coming in as hungry as ever?
Didn't change at all. You know, if you guys know, you guys do research on me. I'm 0-0 every fight. I'm 0-0 every fight. You know, I always told you guys I don't need the belt to prove that I was a champion. The belt was just to let you guys know that I was what I knew I was, you know. And at the end of the day, it's just another fight to me. I can't wait to go out there, do my thing, come this weekend.
I know obviously you've spoken a lot about your Zoom training and how difficult it's been training in the pandemic. Something you've spoken about before is learning new striking techniques from playing EA Sports UFC games. Is something, you know, just improvising and adapting to difficult situations, is that just sort of typical you? Is that something you sort of thrive on?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think so. You need to adapt in anything, especially in mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts is a adapting sport. You know, you look at the guys who was on UFC 1, UFC 2 to like UFC 10, you know, try to put them in the UFC now. It's just different times. It's all about adapting, you know, and that's what we do, you know. I always talk to you guys. I always said we always wanted to be in front of the pack or leading the pack, and not one of those guys who's chilling in the middle, you know. Adapting to everything is just a way of life.
You've come out and said specifically wanted this rematch. He was the one that asked for it. Do you feel that's a mistake by him to get straight back in with you, or?
You know, I don't know. I don't know if it's a mistake or whatever. It is what it is. We're here now. We're a couple of days out, and I just can't wait to get this done.
I just want to ask you a couple of things about the Octagon. I don't know if you've had the chance to see it on Fight On. It's going to be the standard 30 feet. Does that sort of suit you for this fight, that instead of it's not the 25 feet we've seen in the Apex?
I don't really care. We could fight in a 16 feet one. I don't care. A fight is a fight, you know. And I just can't wait. You know, 30 feet, 25 feet, 16 feet, no feet, any feet. Just put me anywhere. I want to fight.
Thank you so much for your time, Alex. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, boss.
We'll go next to Damon Martin with MMAfighting.com. Your line is open.
Hey, Max. Obviously, you know, the last fight with Alex, you know, it was a great fight, back and forth. You know, kudos to him for getting the win done. But a lot of times when you lose a fight, everyone wants you to suddenly reinvent the wheel for a rematch. You know, suddenly made all these mistakes and you have to try to change everything. Do you feel like that's a mistake, kind of the idea that you have to change so much going into the rematch? Maybe just make a few tweaks and changes to win this time?
I mean, yeah, you know, some people think the fight was one way. Other people think the fight went another way, you know. I thought the fight went one way. I thought I did enough, but obviously it wasn't in two people's eyes, you know, the opinions that mattered that night. So at the end of the day, you guys just got to tune in and watch. It's going to be something special this weekend, live on ESPN Plus, pay-per-view. You guys don't want to miss it.
Was that loss a tougher pill to swallow? I mean, obviously you've come back from losses before in your career, but you obviously felt like you did enough to win. Was that a tougher pill to swallow coming back from that one, or did you just have to accept it and move on?
Not at all. It is what it is. You know, at the end of the day, I told you guys, like, I got 5 titles at home, 5 titles in my closet, and they're just chilling there, you know, probably collecting dust. This guy can beat me 2 more times. He's not going to even have as much titles as me. So at the end of the day, it was just another fight, bro. It is what it is. We get to fight again. Here's my shot, and don't miss it.
You've always been the guy, you've kind of downplayed the whole idea when people said you were the featherweight GOAT and the greatest featherweight of all time and the champion. You just didn't really play into that much. So going into this fight, what means more to you? Is it the title or just avenging a loss to Alexander Volkanovski? Like, you took the title away from it. Would it even matter?
It's just a fight. It is another fight. Title, no title. Just make sure my contract is nice. Couple zeros at the end of those numbers, and we'll be all right.
Thanks, Max.
Hey, brother.
We'll go next to Danny Segura with MMA Junkie. Your line is open.
Max, are you an Xbox or PS user?
I've been playing a lot of PC lately, but I'm a PS4 guy. But I'm not one of those guys that are like, yeah, I'm bashing Xbox because I play PS4. I play whatever console that's there, to be honest. But personally, I buy PlayStation and been rocking Warzone and PC lately.
Yeah. Did you get to bring any console for this trip, or have you been kind of taking a break from video games?
And I should have bought. This is talking to my team. I should have bought a gaming laptop, but I did not. You know, so I've been suffering on these quarantines, doing absolutely nothing. Watching my friends on Twitch, watch them play, and just being mad that I can't play. So that's how life's been the last couple of days.
Yeah. They did an update recently, and the gulag's been brutal. So you got tough things ahead. But now on a serious note, talking about the fight, obviously this training camp was much different. You were just talking about how you did a lot of things on Zoom and all that. I'm wondering how is the weight cut going under these new circumstances? How have you been managing that in the lead up to the fight?
It's been good. It's been great, actually. Shout out to my girl, man. She got me eating right. She got me good. This is the best my weight ever been in my life because of her. Anytime I try to grab something sweet or something, she slapped that shit out my hand. So she's the real MVP.
Yeah. And, you're a big guy for 145. When you took this fight, did you have any concerns a little bit like about the weight, not knowing maybe how the weight cut would go, given the fact that you're not in like a normal training camp?
No concerns at all. Like I said, this pandemic and stuff was making my habits a little bit better. Just being a lot more smarter with certain stuff, especially with being in Hawaii, was getting scares of maybe food not being able to be shipped in and stuff. So it was just being smart with it. And I felt good when the fight came. I was at a great place with my weight, still am. And now it's almost time to make the weight, and then it's showtime.
Yeah, for sure. And here with Volkanovski, if you beat him, you guys are going to be one apiece. Do you almost expect a trilogy, or do you think that'll be down the line? Like, what do you think would happen if you're victorious at UFC 251?
My next fight is already for the baddest man on the planet title. So I don't know. I don't know. DC, I'm coming for you. You're eating everything I want to eat. You're heavyweight, boy. We're going to be super heavyweight. We're fighting for the baddest man on the planet title of the world. So that's the next one. To then, UFC can let me know what's going to be happening with the featherweight division after.
All right. Thank you, Max.
Thank you.
We'll go next to Hacker Lee with Ranks. Your line is open.
Hey, Max, how you doing?
Doing good, boss. How you doing?
Good. So what about Volkanovski's strategy gave you issues in the first fight, and then what adjustment did you make to account for this fight?
That's something he's got to wait and see to the weekend. It's going to be something special. If you have family or friends or people that is not into MMA and you want them to become a fan, make them tune in this weekend.
All right. So as you know, the top 5, Yair Rodriguez and Jabit has a fight scheduled. Also, Ortega and Korean Zombie are almost scheduled to fight. Who would you like to face first if you win this fight?
Whoever. Well, UFC send the contract. I told you I didn't even know they was fighting. I don't really watch too much fights around my division. I don't really care, to be honest. Like the last man said, I have bigger problems to face, and that's in the gulag. So at the end of the day, it's whoever.
If you win this fight, do you have anything left to prove in this division? Do you have any thoughts about moving up to 155?
I can't hear you, boss. He's cut out.
Can you hear me? Okay.
It's silent.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Max, can you hear us?
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I can't hear him anymore.
Hello?
Hello?
Do you hear me okay?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Perfect. Sorry about that. So if you win this fight this Saturday, do you have anything left in this division to prove? Or do you have any thoughts about moving up to 155?
We see what happens. First things first, we gotta go out there and do this fight this weekend. And we'll go from there. Me and my team will sit down like we always do. We'll sit down, talk to each other, and then we're gonna talk amongst the UFC. So at the end of the day, it's I'm just waiting. I got one thing to focus on right now. It's a big fight coming this Saturday, and we can do that.
Okay, that's it for me. Thank you so much, Max.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
We'll go next to Augusto German-Niez-Gay with Somos MMA. Your line is open.
Hi, Max. How are you?
Good, boss. How you doing?
Fine, thank you. Max, first of all, I want to know, in your opinion, which is the craziest thing about all this fight week? The travel, the COVID tests, the quarantine, what is it?
I think it's just the time difference of like getting used to. We fight. I don't know if you guys know, but we fight. I'm gonna fight here. The card starts at 6 a.m. The main card, and so I'll probably make the walk around 8:30. I don't know, not too sure yet, but that's just probably the craziest thing to me. It's the first time ever that I had to like force myself to sleep during the day like a vampire, and then wake up at night like a vampire. So maybe that's why they knew that at the time, and that's why I grew my hair to look like Dracula or something.
Do you think this will affect you or your performance in the fight?
Not at all. Fight is fight, man. We all fight. We all can make it say something, but it's not only me doing the thing. It's the whole entire card doing it. The whole entire card after this doing it. So it goes on and on, So you gotta adapt. It's all about adapting.
Yeah. And Max, a few days ago, we could see the photos of the octagon on the beach, and it looks great. Could you see it? Would you like to fight there?
I know. I thought we was fighting there at first. I really thought when I saw Dana White first post it, I thought we was fighting there, but we're fighting at actually an arena. But
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about fighting there. Like I remember when Dustin M came in September, they was talking about how hot it was inside the stadium. So I can only imagine how hot it would be outside on a beach with the water and the reflection, and especially being that early in the morning would be a rough one, but I'd be up to it. It'd be fun.
And Max, talking about the fight, what do you need to be careful about Alexander Volkanovski?
To be honest, I don't know. I can't tell you a real answer what to be scared of. I'm not. Only thing I fear is God. So at the end of the day, this guy's human just like me. We're gonna go out there and fight, and we'll put on a show, I believe.
And the final question for me: you're going to perform into this awesome fight island. And you just said before that your next fight will be against DC for the Baddest Man on the Planet title. So I want to know, where would you like to fight this fight to take place?
Baddest Man on the Planet title, if I had my way, Oahu, Hawaii, Aloha Stadium, before they knock it down.
Okay. Thank you very much, Max.
Thank you.
Okay, we will take our final questions from Chinmay Brahm with Action Global. Your line is open.
Max, thanks for your time. I just wanted to ask you, how do you feel about putting on a show for people this weekend, especially with what is happening around the world with the pandemic, and just add some light into what are pretty dark times around the world? Because we've heard you speak, and it feels that at the front of your mind, it's a lot about people who are struggling with the pandemic and its impact.
With this fight, I hope it can take people, away from their problems a little bit, and just enjoy the fight, enjoy the whole event actually, and just kind of get lost in it for a little bit, give them a little relief, a little break. But these times is hard. This pandemic is super serious, it's super crazy, and if I can be that little, however long my fight is, 25 minutes, 1 minute, however long. If I can brighten your day for that much and kind of pull you away from everything that's happening in the world right now, that would be a win, a big win bigger than actually winning this fight for me, to be honest.
Great. Thanks, Max.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Max. You're all good.
Thank you.
All right, Tom.
We will be joined shortly by UFC featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski. Once again, if you wish to ask a question, please click the hand icon. Thank you.
Let's see if we can get in a little chat before Alex turns up, because Tom's got to leave in a minute to do an interview. But Tom, a lot to unpack there. What stuck out the most for you of what Max was saying, apart from the fact he's going to keep that haircut?
Well, the haircut, of course, was the first thing. That's great news, I think. The thing that stuck out to me was the continued talk of these Zoom training sessions. I had a hard time believing it at first. I still kind of do, but he's really sticking to his guns and, reiterating that he's actually been doing this. He's done most of his training virtually. That strikes me as a mistake. Of course, it seems like it was necessary in Hawaii based on the circumstances there with the pandemic, but that's not a great way to train. He mentioned obviously that he's been involved in a lot of title fights. He's done plenty of sparring rounds over the course of his career, but you are fighting a guy who, beat you, in my mind, fairly decisively not all that long ago. You'd think that he would want to take make every possible effort to make sure this rematch goes his way. Another thing I noticed is that he seems, very, very laid back. He's obviously always a laid back guy, but I would say more so this time around. People were asking him, what strategical changes he intends to make this time around. He didn't really give any actual answers. People ask him what's next. He was kind of, he gives you a lot of the "it is what it is" kind of thing. It's kind of hard not to think that he's maybe just, I don't want to say taking this fight lightly, but just sort of not stressing about it. He should be a little bit more stressed, a little bit more concerned with the challenge at hand. So yeah, I'm a little concerned about his headspace, I have to say, after hearing all of that.
It's hard to disagree with you, Tom. He did say, though, I've been doing this since I'm 16. I've been sparring since I'm 16. I don't need to, I've learned enough. Is that a valid point? Or is it, does practice make perfect?
I think that's a valid point if you're fighting a fresh contender who hasn't beaten you before, but you're fighting a guy who just beat you. Clearly enough wasn't enough that time, everything he learned up until that point wasn't enough to get him to carry him to a win against Alex Volkanovski the first time around. Based on that, I would say it probably isn't going to be enough the second time around. You'd need to make some adjustments. You'd need to try something new, add some new tools to your armory. And it doesn't sound like he's done any of that. I love Max, but I'm kind of, I'm curious about, how he sees this going if he hasn't adjusted his strategy at all.
Are you slightly concerned? He still seems to think he won that fight. Whereas maybe you would have thought, okay, in the heat of the moment after you've lost, you might say, yeah, I thought I won. But you go back, you watch the fight a couple of times maybe, and then you think, oh, yeah, you know what, I did lose that one. Because for me, it was a pretty conclusive win for Volkanovski.
Yeah, I agree. There was, I think, some immediate debate as to, how the judges scored it. But in hindsight, I think anyone that's reviewed the fight can see that it was a fairly decisive win for Volkanovski. I'm not sure what Max is seeing. I would assume he probably knows better than we do. He's been doing this his whole life, like he said. But to the relatively untrained eye, that was a pretty obvious win for Volkanovski. And if Max were to implement that strategy again, obviously it's not going to be enough. It wasn't enough the first time.
Another interesting point I thought was he said he's changed his diet or something along those lines, and it says the weight cut isn't an issue for him this time. He has had weight cut issues in the past. Could this be a factor, you think, going into the fight?
Yeah, I mean, I don't recall how his weight cut affected him the first time he fought Volkanovski. As you've said, he's had some issues with the scale in the past, but he made weight last time around. I'm always a little reluctant to take any pre-fight comments about weight cuts seriously because everybody when they're asked that, they do their best to kind of give a cause for optimism. Oftentimes they still end up having brutal cuts. Holloway in particular, has in the past, given us reason to believe that his weight cut is going to go off without a hitch. And then of course, once he gets on the scale, he looks, a bit like a prisoner of war or something. But yeah, we'll see. If he's on a new diet, if his girlfriend or wife has helped him a little bit, that's a great sign. Maybe he'll have the best performance of his career with this new diet.
It's a bit hard to tell when wearing a mask. Did Max look all right to you? Did he seem in good spirits? I couldn't really tell. It's difficult, when you can't read the facial expressions, right?
You do lose a lot behind that mask, don't you? I would say he certainly seemed chill. And again, he's our guy from Hawaii. He's always pretty chill, but he seems to have reached new levels of chillness ahead of this fight, which I think is concerning from a guy who's fighting the guy he just lost to. I think what I personally would want to see from Max is kind of focus, attention to the task at hand. And he didn't really give us that. He knows better than anyone where his head's at, but he seems like he's just kind of breezing through this whole thing, just taking everything as it comes, which is perhaps not the attitude you want to have when you're taking on the guy who, in the eyes of most people, whooped you last time.
And he didn't even know that he was going to be fighting in the arena at first, right? He thought he was going to fight on the beach. This is kind of strange. A lot of fighters a lot of fans as well, still seem to think these fights are going to be in this octagon on the beach. This is a bit of a tangent, but is it slightly annoying that the UFC is pushing this fight island? Here's the big octagon on the beach, but it's actually just going to be in an arena that, where Dustin Poirier fought Khabib last time, the artificial arena they built,
Right. It is, it's almost false advertising. They keep giving us these images of the octagon out on the beach, and the palm trees swaying and the seagulls overhead and all that, which is, of course, not what we're going to get. And that's just kind of par for the course with Fight Island at this point. When the idea was first broached, however many months ago, I think we were all kind of picturing something in the Caribbean or the South Pacific, and then we end up getting this place the UFC's done 2 events at already. It's really not anything new. It's just, they're doing it under slightly different circumstances with new precautions in place. I really don't feel like Fight Island is all that special or all that historic. It's really just UFC Apex in a different place, But hey, it's kind of fun to talk about, and there's definitely kind of an interesting atmosphere. But is it special? Is it new? I don't think so.
I 100% agree. I think it's absolutely nothing special, and it's being played up as this magnificent fun thing. It's just not really what was advertised, as you said. Mm-hmm. Anyway, still should be a great card, right? I just wish I'm still dreaming of, as you mentioned, like maybe in the Caribbean, something like that. Some volcanoes erupting in the background, fighters coming out on jet boats,
Exactly.
So cool. Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, all right. Has anything Max said changed your mind about your prediction you gave me earlier today that you were pretty conclusive Alex is going to beat him?
Yeah, and I say that as a guy who enjoys watching Max fight, and I do think Max is one of the best fighters in the history of that division. But if anything, I'm less confident that he's going to win this time. He just really didn't seem like he was all that concerned with the fight he has on his hands, which is a very tough, very dangerous fight. Whereas Volkanovski seems to be even more motivated this time around. Like John said when we were speaking earlier, Volkanovski has said this time around, he's got a chip on his shoulder. He doesn't want to win by decision. He wants to put a decisive end to this little rivalry and finish Max. Whereas, Max has no predictions, hasn't given us any inklings as to his strategy. He seems to be just coasting right into this matchup. And, I worry he's got this really laid back attitude. And then suddenly on Saturday night, he's going to find himself in a fist fight with a guy trying to take his head off. And, I don't think this prolonged chillness is going to serve him well in that situation. One thing to note, though, the mental side of this game is, a huge factor. It is possible that this is some really, really in-depth strategy for Max, just giving everybody, including Volkanovski and his team, the impression that he's taking this lightly, that he's not concerned with on fight night as with the Arsenal. Who knows? Yeah, I was just gonna ask you. Do you think there's a possibility it could be some gigantic ruse from Max, or is that too far-fetched? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we've seen crazier things. Max has fought guys like Conor in the past, who Conor McGregor, who really favor that that pre-fight mental warfare. This isn't the overt kind of mental warfare we've seen from the trash talkers like Conor and Henry Cejudo, Colby Covington. But it could be kind of guerrilla warfare. Kind of trying to lead people astray, perhaps make Volkanovski a bit complacent, maybe throw him off the scent of his strategy. It's going to be interesting to see. But if it's not a ruse and Max is really just, totally unconcerned with the fight on the calendar, I think it could. That could really backfire. It could. As you said, Volkanovski is so dangerous, and he's had such a strong camp, hasn't he? He's been in with a lot of guys. I mean, our man Martin Nguyen was there from One Championship. John was listing it earlier. It's just seems like just completely different preparations. I love Max Holloway, but even I'm a little bit fearful here. I don't know. Give me your prediction, round, finish. What do you think? Well, I mean, like you said, the contrast between their camps is so stark. You've got Max who's saying he's been, just doing the Zoom training sessions and playing Call of Duty. And then you've got Volkanovski on the other side of the world, training with killers, as, seemingly so focused. Fights are so hard to predict, and I feel like I'm always wrong. I'm terrible at this. But based on the information we have, it seems like everything is kind of swinging in Volkanovski's favor right now. As I said when we spoke earlier, I don't know that he's going to be able to make good on that prediction of a knockout over Max Holloway, simply because, Max Holloway's got a chin like a microwave. You can't knock him out. So we'll see, if he can crack that chin. I kind of doubt it, but I do kind of foresee a fairly decisive decision win for the champ in this one. All right. Yeah. Well, Max wasn't really biting, but a few people asked him, who are you going to fight next if you do beat Alex Volkanovski? Will you move up to lightweight again? What do you see for Max? Let's say he does win. Does he have anything left to accomplish in this division? I think he does. He's had some amazing success in this division, and he beat a lot of really tough guys, particularly on his way to the title. But, since winning the title, it's just been Aldo, Ortega, and Edgar. There's a whole new generation of fresh, dangerous featherweight contenders waiting for the winner of this fight. And I think regardless of who wins, that winner should really shift their focus to that next wave of guys. Got Zabit, Yair, the Korean Zombie, of course. My preference, whether it's, Max or Alex that wins this fight on Saturday night, would be that the winner fight the Korean Zombie next. And if he loses, time to move up? Maybe, or try to get back on track against a guy like Zabit or Yair. But I think, if he loses again, 2 losses to the champion, that's a tough thing to recover from. I think probably a fresh start at lightweight would be a great idea for him. And what about Volkanovski? If he loses? No, if Volkanovski wins, it's got to be that winner of Ortega and Zombie, right? Yeah, I would think so. I mean, particularly Zombie, I feel like he's already kind of earned the opportunity. Not just because of his recent wins, but just his overall body of work. He's had some layoffs and stuff, but he's I think earned a featherweight title shot. And if he beats Ortega, that's undeniable. So I'd love to see him fight Volkanovski after the fact. Well, we're still waiting on Alexander the Great. I don't know when he's going to turn up.
I know you have to leave eventually. Please do duck out when you have to go because you've got another interview coming up, I think, haven't you? I don't want to keep you too long.
I can give you 10 more minutes probably.
Yeah, all right. Then we can talk some garbage. I don't know. What else is on the agenda? Yeah, we got Volkanovski coming up soon. What do you expect he's going to be asked? Because it's been a pretty straightforward. It's been quite a procession for him, hasn't it? This is probably not his greatest challenge. He's probably pretty confident coming into this one, you'd think.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how he responds to the questions that he gets, because the interviews the questions that Holloway just got, the answers he gave, it almost reminded me of a hockey interview. Hockey players are kind of infamous for their just kind of softball answers, not a lot of actual meat to the responses that they give sometimes. And that's how I felt about Holloway. Volkanovski, I think, based on what we've heard recently from him, is very focused, hasn't been shy to give predictions for the fight, hasn't been shy about his intentions of getting the finish. I'm hoping that he, gives us some answers with some real juice to them. And I think he probably will. He seems like he's fired up for this. The rumors, at least, I don't know if we can confirm them one way or the other, but are that, he asked for this fight and Holloway perhaps wasn't quite as interested. If that's true, you got to assume that he's really fired up and eager for the chance to put a really decisive end to this rivalry with Max.
Yeah, do you think he asked for this fight because it was going to happen in Australia, wasn't it? In presumably a big 50,000 seat stadium, big payday. Pandemic then happened. Mm-hmm. So the fight kind of makes less sense in that way. It's not maybe what he wanted now. Does that shift his focus slightly? Maybe change the game plan? I don't know.
Maybe, I am curious why he wanted this rematch. Like we've discussed, I thought he beat Holloway fairly clearly the first time around. There's no shortage of other contenders in the division. I think probably, like you suggested, he viewed this Holloway rematch as the biggest fight available for him right now, the kind of main event that would really draw a crowd in Australia. And then, of course, the pandemic hit, and he'd already sort of made his bed and called out Holloway, and now he has to sleep in it. Does that change anything for him? I don't think so. He was confident enough to call for the rematch, when he thought it was happening in Australia or elsewhere. Presumably, that confidence hasn't disappeared now that it's happening on Fight Island. So I think we'll still see a dangerous Alexander Volkanovski on Saturday night.
I'm intrigued to see what he says, but he has been entertaining the idea of fighting Henry Cejudo next. Henry Cejudo's already retired. I think we've talked about it before on the show, but is that a possible next fight for Alex Volkanovski?
Oh, yeah, of course it's possible, and if it did happen, it would be a huge fight. I think, though, that it's the wrong move for Volkanovski. One of the things that he hasn't exactly caught on with fans yet. I think he has the potential to, particularly in Australia. He speaks well. He's an exciting guy, but he hasn't really kind of, found his role with the fans yet. And I think one thing that was sort of resonating with fans was when he won the belt, he talked a lot about just taking on the contenders. There was no talk of super fights, which we get so often when fighters become champions. Suddenly they're calling out the guy in the division above. Wasn't the case with Alex. He sort of suggested that his priority was taking on the next wave of contenders, which these days is a really refreshing take from a champion. I think if he starts entertaining, super fights with bantamweights who are retired, that might kind of alienate him a little bit. I think fans are kind of tired of that, and they would love the featherweight division's so good. They'd probably love to see him fight any of the guys in the top 5. And I think that's probably what he should be doing.
It seems to suggest to me that maybe he feels there's not many money fights out. Oh, Alex is here, so we're going to bring him back in.
We're now joined by UFC featherweight
Tom,
champion
thanks for joining. If you have to leave,
Alex,
we'll
thank
see
you for
you, man.
You guys enjoy this.
We'll go first question to Anurag Mitra with Mosquito. Your line is open.
So they said just wait 1 second, I think. I'm not trying to tell you what the...
Hi, Alexander. How are you doing?
Sorry about that. Running the show now, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, guys. That's all I need.
Yeah. So I'd like to ask you, in a recent interview, Max Holloway referred to you as an Olympic level point karate athlete. He said that you didn't cause a lot of damage, but you were really good at picking up the points, in the fight. And my question to you would be: would you plan to alter your approach this time around and go for the kill, or would you stick to the plan like what?
Oh, am I looking there? Yeah, I don't know where he's going with this. Again, he's just got a few. He's been saying some pretty crazy things. He's not really being himself, I believe. Again, with this karate point Olympian, it's just funny because you watch that whole fight, and you listen to the commentators the whole fight. They're talking about how all my punches were power punches, and they're, am I going to be able to keep that up? Am I going to tire because I'm putting everything into my shots? And the funny thing about what he's saying is he's known for his volume punches. He's known for his pitter patter. You know what I mean? He's known to just work people out early and then just put the volume punches in. He's never been a power puncher. That's what I just don't get where he's going with that. You know what I mean? He's just he's got all these weird narratives, so many different directions that it sounds a little crazy at the moment. But look, I don't know if he's playing the game and he's just trying to get people to believe the shit he's saying. I don't know what it is, but again, I'm not letting it get to me. It seems like it's getting to him. It seems like he's salty and he's been a bit of a sore loser. But mate, I guess losing is tough, and maybe that's why he's acting like that. I don't know, but at the same time, he's saying some crazy things.
Yeah. Well, considering you managed to retain the title against Max this Saturday, who's next for you? Like former flyweight and bantamweight champ Henry Cejudo has recently expressed the desire to step out of retirement for a solitary super fight against you. So does that matchup entice you one bit? Like, could that be on the cards?
Who was that? Sorry,
Henry Cejudo.
Oh, Henry Cejudo. Yeah. Look, my eye is on my division. I want to defend my belt against number one contenders, and we've got a stacked division, and we've got a whole heap of contenders that are about to fight each other. So the rumors show that that's who's fighting. You've got like Korean Zombie, and Brian Ortega, and Yair Rodriguez a bit, Cater and Ige. You've got all these guys fighting, and whoever has an impressive performance, they're going to be number one contender. And for Henry Cejudo to push in front of the line, in front of a number one contender, there needs to be money involved because I'm not into that. As I've said from day one, I don't want to put my division on hold. I want to fight number one contenders, and for me to be GOAT of this division, you need to take out your number one contenders. So if someone's in front of the line, we need to be compensated for that.
All right. Could we broadly see you move up to 155 in the future? I mean, does that prospect of becoming a double champ in the UFC allow you?
Look, that's something that I've got a division to hold. Yeah, so I've got my division to worry about. But again, if that comes to me, we can talk. And then obviously, as long as I'm staying active in my division and I get a fight in another division, I'm okay with that. But again, as long as my division isn't on hold, and then a fight like that comes to me, of course. But again, I'm not chasing that. These fights need to be brought to me because I'm chasing my contenders.
Lastly, give us your prediction for the main event. I mean, who do you think leaves Abu Dhabi as the new welterweight champion?
Yeah, man, it's gonna be a good fight. But I think Usman's gonna be hard to beat, especially on a full camp. Masvidal does have some wicked takedown defense. I still think, a lot of people obviously know him for his striking, but he does do a fair bit of wrestling, and he digs the wrestling too. So I'm sure he can maybe stop a few takedowns, but Usman's pressure and just being in his face, I think just might be too much, especially with the full camp.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time and best of luck for the fight.
No worries. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll go next to Gabriel Gonzalez with Cage Side Press. Your line is open.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Alexander. A lot of talk about, like U.S. for the fight, whereas, it seemed like the natural progression Can you just explain, was the rematch with Max always the number one, or were there serious talks about facing, you know, Yair Zabit or one of these other guys?
Nah, the UFC never bring anyone but Max Holloway. So Max is telling everyone that I was asking for the fight, but that was just what the UFC were asking for. At the end of the day, you know, if that was the fight that they were going to push on me and there was no clear number one contenders, that was it. It ended up being the fight I wanted anyway. Again, for the biggest fight in my division is Max. There's no clear number one contenders. So, you know, a rematch against Max, and people, you know, obviously he's still in his prime. You take out one of the greatest of all time, you know, a lot of people throwing his name out there as the GOAT. And to take him out back to back, you know, that's saying something. You know what I mean? For your profile, for the division, right now that's the biggest fight for me. This is a fight that needs to happen. And, you know, that's why I eventually was, you know what, let's just do this. You know, even though my team were, should we do this rematch, you know, is there any point? You clearly won the last fight. But again, there was no number one contenders. And I just thought for me, in my profile and the division, this was the biggest fight.
You know, it's always a special occasion when you have a championship rematch back to back. It's usually safe for these guys who have been on top for a minute. Do you take anything from the history of those immediate rematches, like Chris Weidman versus Anderson Silva and how it went, Max versus Aldo, Stipe DC? Do you look at any of that history as you think about your fight?
Not really. Not really. Again, nah, I don't. I'm not paying attention to that. I know my game. I know his game. I got my last fight to go off, and I got my camp, this camp to go off as well. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling powerful. I don't really believe in, you know, or these types of things. You know, I believe in my hard work, my skill, and who I am as a fighter, as a competitor. I know I'm the best featherweight of all time, or I will be. I know I'm the best featherweight today. So I'm going to go out there and prove that this weekend.
Can you describe what's your itinerary been like since you arrived? I mean, what time did you get there locally? What time is it right now as you're talking to us around the world?
I got here early Saturday morning. We left Friday back home. We got here early Saturday morning, and then we'll quarantine for the 48 hours. But the process has been good. You know, now we're obviously doing a lot of media. We're out and about. You know, we're all allowed to roll around in the safe zone. So it's been pretty good. It's been a busy schedule, but, you know, the process has been good. Everyone over here is doing their job well and making it easier for us fighters and everyone else.
Two last ones for me. Are you scheduled, or do you have any plans to work out on that cage that they're showing all the pictures of outside in the beach?
We're thinking of doing a little workout there. We might go over there and do some drilling. You know, you probably can't do too hard of a session in this heat, but I might go out there and do a little session if we're allowed. I'll move around in there and get some photos, get some good content, and soak up some of that sun on that beach. So that'll be pretty cool.
Last one. Did you have any feelings about the, you know, not getting to be the main event when Burns pulled out and then they scheduled Masvidal?
Look, you know, obviously people were mentioning me being in a main event. I still knew that there was an option of someone being replaced. For me, it doesn't really matter. You obviously being main event and all the focus on you is good. But at the same time, having a Masvidal fight on this card as well is big. Obviously, that's more pay-per-views, and that brings you know, it's already a stacked card. You know, even without with 2 title fights, it's huge. And then to have 3 title fights and Masvidal as well, and Masvidal being the number one contender, it's big. It makes this card even bigger than what it already was, even though it's still massive. So I didn't really care about that. I'm glad Masvidal's filling in, and I know I'm putting on a show, and I'll be watching them afterwards as well.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
We'll go next to Mojan Wu with Shanghai Media. Your line is open.
Hi, champ. Alexander. Yeah, this is Hupu Sports from China. So I have a question about you. We know that you have the will and determination to show you are the best in the featherweight division again. But during this pandemic period, you took this fight with like 6 weeks short notice. So And so do you think you have reached the fullest capacity for this rematch as we expected?
Yeah, it doesn't take me long to get fit. Again, like you said, I'm a hard worker. I'm determined. So even though I was in isolation, I was still determined to stay fit. I was doing home workouts. I was doing plenty of stuff. I stayed fit and stayed strong. There was still plenty of other things I was able to work on. And the 6 weeks to get ready was more than enough. I smashed my last session I had. Some of the best sessions I've ever had in the last week of my training. So I'm not worried one bit about my condition.
Wow, that's awesome. So Max said he wasn't able to do any sparring during the lockdown periods, but he trained via a Zoom video. Obviously, he didn't buy any of what he said. So do you think Max was trying to play a mental game with you? Do you think he's going to bring anything different to surprise you this time?
I don't know what it was, whether it's mental game or, covering his own ass or whatever it is. Or, I don't know, but I mean, I don't believe it. I know he's prepared. I know I'm expecting the best Max there is. So come fight time, I'm definitely expected. And the best Max I know I can beat. If he's underprepared, that means it's just going to make things even easier for you.
Wow, that's fantastic. You said you are going for the finish this time, and you believe that's what's going to happen. So what kind of adjustment will you apply into this rematch? Will there be anything different compared to the first match?
Yeah, there's obviously a few adjustments that we're both going to have to make. And I know one of his adjustments is going to be he's going to push forward. He's going to throw a lot more. He's not going to try and, counter and try and make me miss. He's going to just throw a lot more. He's going to, like the later rounds where he did a little bit more, I think he's going to do that early. And that's dangerous to do with me. You're going to put yourself in risky positions like that. That's why I'm quite confident I'm going to put him away.
Oh, that's awesome. One thing I found very interesting in recent Joe Experience show, Max mentioned he was using the southpaw stance the last time he fought against you. Do you remember that moment? And he told that to Joe Rogan when he used the southpaw stance, you didn't react immediately as he expected. So do you think that's a true thing as he described, or will he impact you anything?
Oh man, there's a lot of things that he's saying that don't make sense. Even that, I know that my third round was my best round by far. I put a lot of hands on him that round, and he was in southpaw most of that time. So I highly doubt he's going to stay in southpaw because that didn't end well for him. That round was a bad round for him, and that's not where he's comfortable. Obviously, he knows how to shift stances. But he is an orthodox fighter. He's a volume fighter. He's a pressure fighter. There's not too much he can change. If he changes too much, he's going to be putting himself in an uncomfortable position, and that's just going to make the fight even easier.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And good luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
Thank you, champ.
We'll go next to Ezekiel Bergonzi with Super Luchas. Your line is open.
Hey, hello, Alexander. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Do you think Max Holloway underestimate your abilities for this fight? Because he said that he was very sure he won and say you need to prove something, and that's very weird because you're the champ. So do you think that he's underestimating you? That's the question.
Again, he's saying some weird things. He's saying a lot of weird things, but I'm the champ. I beat him. You know what I mean? I know I'm the champ, but that doesn't mean I ain't going to find ways to keep myself motivated. You know what I mean? I still got something to prove because there's still people that doubt me. And I know there's not many of them. I know there's a majority of people know I won that last fight, know I will do it again. But there's still a lot of people that think Max can take that away from me. I want to leave no doubt in anyone's mind. That's the type of champion I am. To be the best, you've got to beat the best. And there's still some people that think Max might be the best. And he's not. And I'll get to prove that this weekend. So that's why, he can say what he wants. But, me, I'm real. I'm a realist. Again, that's just who I am. I'll find ways to keep motivated. And this is who I am. This is the biggest fight for me, and that's why I want it. I'm the champ, but I'm still going to look for the biggest fights in my division. And the most competitive fights, if people think that this is the guy that's going to beat me, I'm going to want to fight them. I'll be ready. I'm going to be calling them out. So he can take it however he wants it, but that's how it is.
And despite this fight, are you? Do you want to see? Are you interested to see another fight in your division to see who will be the number one contender to fight against you, like Korean Zombie against Brian Ortega? Which fight do you want to see in your division, or which fighter are you interested to compete against in the near future?
Whoever's that number one contender, whoever's name everyone is shouting. You know what I mean? So it depends. There's some big fights in our division. Our division's stacked. And we've got all the guys that are pretty much in the same position about to fight each other. Whoever wins in the best fashion or most dominant fashion, I'm sure everyone's going to be screaming their name. And that's who I want. Like I said, I want these guys that everyone thinks can take me out. You know what I mean? If you want to be the greatest of all time in your division, this is what you need to do. And this is how it should be done. You know what I mean? I believe in the ranking system, and I want them number one contenders. So whoever's next in line, whoever deserves that shot, can get it.
And talking about that, now you say you want to be the best of all time in your division. Do you think that there is that goal is not something that fighters want anymore, because there's a lot of crossing divisions, like for example, Cejudo won the flyweight title and then he jumped right away to fight for the bantamweight title instead of defending his belt in the 125 division. Do you want to go to other way, like fighting first all the contenders and then see if you want to jump to other division? What do you think about that?
And again, like I've got a division hold. I'm not all. I get why people want to do that, but again, that's not what it's all about. I don't want to not fight my number one contenders, keep my division on hold, just so I can fight in other divisions, just so I can hang on to my belt. You know, I mean, a lot of people are doing that, and I don't believe in that. But in saying that, I want to stay active. I want to be an active champion. So me doing that, if I'm fighting my number one contenders, and I've got room to fit in a lightweight fight, again, to get that champ status, as long as I'm not holding my division up, I'm all for it. If that opportunity comes to me, I'll be all for it. But I'm not going there chasing it, if you get what I mean.
And talking about other topic, now you can pre-order your children's book. Congratulations. And how it came the idea to write that book and try to reach the children and talking about your path as a fighter and as a champion? How it came that idea?
Well, everyone that knows me knows that I'm a family man. That's just who I am. I take pride in that, you know what I mean? And I take pride in the person I am. As I say, I'm not perfect, but I at least try to be. I at least try and have morals. I try and stay disciplined. I try and do the right thing. You know what I mean? And that's something I want to push on the new generation. That's something I'm proud of, and that's something that there's a lot of UFC fighters that are like that. But we don't get portrayed like that. There's a lot of fighters that are some of the most respectful people I've ever met, and a lot of us get portrayed as thugs, as you know what I mean. But we're not all like that. And I think this is really good for the UFC. I think this is really good for our sport to really show a different side to us athletes. And this is something I'm proud of, and it's this is my brand. Again, I'm not the type to talk trash on people. Maybe me and Max are having some words, but I'm just telling it how it is. But I'm not going to throw shade on someone for no reason. That's just not who I am. I'm a respectful guy. And I always will be, and at least try and be. So that's who I am. That's my brand, and our children's book just fits that perfectly. And again, I think it's huge for me. I think it's huge for the sport. And I think it's huge for us fighters. And I want people to see that we're not all thugs, and we have some really good people in this sport that children can look up to.
And my last question is: will you write a book or a novel? Do you want to explore other aspects of your writing in the near future, like a novel or storybooks, or little tales?
Yeah, for sure. You know what I mean? It's there's so much you can do. Again, you know what I mean? Like right now, a children's book was something that we wanted to do, and I think it's just the timing of it and just everything about it. It's just perfect. You know what I mean? But again, we want to do a lot. Again, you've got a brand and you want to build that. So you want to build your empire, as they say. And I definitely would love to tell my actual story. You know what I mean? So that's definitely something that I've got my eye on.
Well, thank you very much, and good luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
We'll go next to Damon Martin with MMAfighting.com. Your line is open.
Hey, Alex, when we spoke after the first fight with Max, when you were coming out of the hand surgery, you told me that, at the time you hoped maybe Max would get another fight, maybe get another win, and the featherweight division could kind of shake itself out a little bit to determine who would get your first title defense. Now, obviously, you can't, control a pandemic, kind of delaying things, but was there any disappointment that we didn't see more, featherweight contender fights while you were gone, like the Zabits and Yairs and Brian Ortega's? We didn't see any of those fights, while you were gone.
Yeah, well, that's why this fight is happening. This is the fight the UFC were pushing from the start. As you said, I was saying that, that it'd be good. Like, I clearly won that last fight. Should we look at a new number one contender? But there wasn't really any number one contenders. And as you said, no one fought. So as time went on, the UFC obviously were looking for fights, and it ended up being there's no one else but Max then. You know what I mean? There's no clear number one contenders. The biggest fight for me right now is against Max. In our division, that is the biggest fight because there is no clear number one. So, and, I didn't want to miss this opportunity fighting on Fight Island. So, I was saying, they wanted to fight, and I'm like, they wanted Max. And I said, all right, you know what? Let's do it. I don't want to wait around for a number one contender. Let's go out there and take him out again. Prove yourself as the best featherweight in the world. I am the best featherweight in the world. I know most of the world knows that, but there's still some people that doubt me, and I want to get them all on board. I want Max to know that even though he knows he lost that fight, I want him to really know this time. I want him to have his head down while my hand gets raised, knowing that he lost. And I don't mean that in any disrespect, but I just mean that in a way where he somehow thinks he won that last fight. He's still talking about it. I don't know where he's going with that, but I'm going to leave no doubt in his mind and the rest of the world.
Typically going into a title fight, Alex, the champion has the pressure on their shoulders. You're the defending champion. You're going out to defend your belt. But in a weird way, Max getting this automatic rematch, there's a lot of pressure on him because if he loses to you a second time, as long as you're champion, there's probably not going to be a chance of a third fight. I mean, you feel like that actually adds a little bit more pressure to his side going into this one because, again, he loses, as long as you're champion, there's not a good chance he's going to get another shot at you.
Yeah, man, it just depends on the fighter. You know what I mean? If I was in his position, I wouldn't let the pressure get to me. You know what I mean? So, I believe I've got them, even if you were to say, is the pressure on you, like on myself, I'll be like, no, it's not, because, that's the type of person I am. I can really control my emotions, and I'm really good at keeping myself composed. So, and I think he is as well. So I don't know whether there is pressure on him. Is he looking at it as a last chance to get his belt back, and then he moves up anyway? Maybe that's how he's looking at it. So maybe there's not much pressure on him because he thinks, if I lose, I move up. I don't know if I want to keep doing this to my body anyway in this division, So maybe that's where his head's at. Maybe he's just like, one last crack, make a bit of money. I don't know. Is that why he supposedly didn't do a camp with training partners, even though I don't believe that one bit? You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't believe any of that, but I don't think there's too much pressure on him.
Last question for me, Alex. I'm not going to ask you to psychoanalyze Max Holloway, but there is a mental aspect to fighting. And you mentioned some of kind of the weird things he said, talking about the training camp, and felt like maybe he's a bit of a sore loser coming out of that fight. Like, what do you think of Max going into this fight? Because it seems like his demeanor is different and kind of odd in terms of like how he's addressing the title and the rematch. And it's kind of weird. Like, what do you make of that? And do you feel like that is an aspect that maybe you can exploit in the fight?
Yeah, man. There's something different about it. The way he is, I don't know what it is. Again, like, man, I don't hate the guy. I got respect for the guy, and you could see clearly after my fight, I was saying he was a great champion, and I want to be a great champion too. And that's how I know Max Holloway. And to see him say these things and act like the way he's acting, it's quite surprising. It just doesn't suit him. It's not how he should be going about it. I think he again, it's just, I don't know. I don't know why he's taking it that way. Again, I'm blown away by it, but at the same time, it makes me want to put a bit more of a beating on him as well. So, I think it's, again, I can use this as fuel. You know what I mean? He's saying the wrong things and whatever, you know what I mean? Like, again, it is odd. I don't know where he's going with all these weird narratives. You know what I mean? Like, the leg kicks weren't working. He was saying that the commentary was biased for me. You know what I mean? It was crazy. Acting like I'm a karate point puncher when he's known for his, volume punching, pitter patter. You had the commentary talking about how I'm looking to throw power shots and finish the fight. Am I going to be able to kick this pace up and keep this power up? Am I going to gas because I'm throwing everything into my punches? So you know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy where he's going with everything. Some people are believing it. Maybe he's just playing the game. He's playing the game and he wants people to believe him. And again, a lot of people got a lot of time to believe that, especially in this pandemic. But, I don't know where he's going with it. It doesn't suit him. I hope he's okay, to be honest. Again, I don't hate the guy. But, he's going to make this win even easier for me with the way he's going about it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
We will take our final questions from Danny Segura with MMA Junkie. Your line is open.
Hey, Alex. Can you just explain to us why is it so, I guess, unbelievable that Max Holloway did his camp over Zoom for preparation for UFC 251?
Hey, like, you need that contact training. You need it. You know what I mean? Even me having I had 6 weeks contact training, and then you didn't have contact training before that. I went out of my way, or my team went out of their way to get an exemption to make that happen. Went through the government, and they got an exemption so we could do contact training because it's important. There's keeping fit. Oh, don't get me wrong. I was keeping fit and I was staying strong. But to say that I am fight fit and ready to fight for a title, it's just ridiculous. And I'm sure he wouldn't put himself in that position. You know what I mean? He wants to take that belt. I'm sure he wants that belt back. And him having a camp without any training partners, it just doesn't make sense. And if that is the case, maybe he doesn't really care. Maybe he's fighting for the money. I don't know what it is. Maybe he doesn't really care about this division anymore. I don't know. If that's the case, I really don't think he's committed to this fight like he should be. You know what I mean? And I hope he had a full camp because I'll beat him. I believe I beat him. Well, I did beat him on his best day, and I believe I'll do that this camp too. And if he is underprepared, man, I truly do believe I'll be putting a beating on him. You know what I mean? And again, that's just the truth. You know what I mean? I'm not being disrespectful, but if you come into this fight underprepared, you're going to make that night very hard for you.
Yeah, for sure. And with some of the comments you've said, and also some of the comments that your coach has made, it almost feels like you guys are saying that you and your team have Max Holloway's number, regardless of whether he's full camp or Zoom camp, whatever it is. Is that how you feel? You feel like you have Max Holloway's number?
Yeah, I do. You know, I mean, I said that before the fight, but again, you've got to prove yourself, and I did that. See, a lot of people don't realize that we were making adjustments that whole fight. He made adjustments that whole fight, and I still stayed in front the whole time. Every time he adjusted, I countered it. You know what I mean? He made adjustments, and then I adjusted to it. Later rounds, people are saying they were better rounds. I still won them rounds with a broken hand. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't want to use that as an excuse because that's not who I am. But, I mean, people are saying that I was slowing down towards the end, and he started getting a little bit and seeing more success in them later rounds. I broke my hand, and I knew I won, so maybe I had to pull back, and I still won them rounds. You know what I mean? People are saying that, you know, he had later rounds that were better, but I still won them rounds. You know what I mean? So it just shows you when he made adjustments, I was still better. When I had a broken hand, I was still better. You know what I mean? And again, you know, I'm not throwing shade on the man, but I've just got his number. You know what I mean? And I am the best featherweight in the world, and I proved that December, and I'll prove it again this weekend.
And this is your first fight as a champion. Does it have any different feeling? How do you feel about entering this fight already with gold?
It doesn't feel any different. It doesn't. You know what I mean? Honestly, again, I got a job to do. You know what I mean? I gotta not only bring the belt. I want to say I'm going to bring this belt back to my family. Which the reason why I want to bring this belt back to the family is because I want to bring the win back to my family. I want to bring the money back to my family. I want to bring the success of having this belt back to my family, back to my team, back to Australia. You know what I mean? So me defending my belt isn't my main, my main focus. Isn't my main motivation. So this is still another fight for me. You know what I mean? I'm still going to go out there and I'm still more motivated than ever. I don't care if I've got that belt. People are chasing me. Again, I'm chasing them. I'm coming after them. I'm coming after that win. Every single one of them, I want to win every fight, and that's my motivation.
All right, thank you, Alex. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today, Alex. You're all good.
Thank you.
This concludes today's UFC 251 virtual media day. Video recordings will be made available later today. As a reminder, we will be hosting additional virtual media days tomorrow and Thursday. If you have not already registered for these events, please do so today. Thank you for joining, and you may disconnect.
Right, yeah, Tom was able to slide back in. Actually, his interview was rescheduled. You missed the first 20 minutes or so, but I think he did repeat a little bit of what he was saying earlier on. So you did get a bit of the full flavor. Most of it was saying he doesn't really believe that Max Holloway is telling the truth when he says he was just, doing his thing on Zoom. And if he did, he's coming in underprepared. So yeah, what's your take on what Alex was saying?
Well, based on what I heard, it sounds like he has the same kind of concerns and questions and skepticism as everybody else. Max has been saying a lot of kind of strange things in the lead up to this fight with respect to his virtual training and, the adjustments he's making or not making. And I think Alex is confused as the rest of us. It doesn't make a ton of sense for a guy who, lost the first fight to regress in the lead up to the rematch. And I think they're fair concerns. Max has just kind of been, he's been very mysterious in the lead up to this. And it sounds like it's almost motivated Alex even further. He's almost a little bit offended that Holloway suggested that he's sort of, easing into this rematch.
Is it disrespectful from Max if he's telling the truth about this?
Maybe. I think it's stupid more than anything. With all due respect to Holloway, it's you're preparing to fight a world champion, a guy who's beat you once before. If you're really not training, yeah, you're disrespecting the opponent that's going to be standing across the cage from you, but you're also kind of disrespecting yourself. You're not giving yourself the adequate preparation to do what you need to do. On the flip side, maybe Holloway will somehow put forth the performance of his career. And, if he's truly been training on Zoom, maybe then Zoom Max Holloway will kind of join the MMA pantheon with C-level Cain Velasquez and motivated BJ Penn and all these guys. But the odds of that happening, if what he's saying is true, strike me as pretty low.
But Alex looks motivated as hell, doesn't he?
He looks like he's got a chip on his shoulder. He looks angry. I wouldn't want to bump into him in the buffet line. He looks like he's a little frustrated with what Max is saying, and not only that, with the repeated questions about what Max has been saying. Obviously we all have the same questions. Alex doesn't have the answers. All he knows is that he's well prepared. Like he said, he's made some special arrangements with the Australian government to ensure that he was able to get some contact training in. He's really clearly taking this fight seriously. And the big question is whether or not Max Holloway is.
I think you missed it, but he was asked a few times as well about, do you want to take on Henry Cejudo or do you want to move up to 155? He repeatedly said, I've got a division to clear out. I've got to prove myself. I've got number one contenders to take out. I know you and I were talking about that before Alex actually sat down and spoke. So you will be glad to hear that, Tom, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think most fans would be glad to hear that too, because, you know, super fights are very exciting. These championship versus champion fights are always exciting. But I think there was kind of a system overload for a year or two there, you know, where it seemed like every time a champion, you know, a new champion was crowned, the first thing they did was call out the champion in the division above. You know, we had Tyron Woodley calling out Michael Bisping a few years ago, things like that. You know, the novelty wore off pretty quickly. So I think, you know, a lot of fans will probably find it pretty refreshing to once again have a champion whose priority is defending his championship against the next guy in line. We haven't seen that in a while. That seems to be the attitude that Volkanovski has, and it's that's pretty exciting, I think.
All right. Well, look, it's creeping on 12:30 in the morning for me, and they've turned off the aircon in the office, and the last train goes in about half an hour. So I maybe I should get the hell out of here. But yeah, as the guy said on the intercom, they are going to be back tomorrow for the second day of Virtual Media Day. We've got 6 interviews tomorrow: Peter Yan, Jessica Andrade, Amanda Ribas, Rose Namajunas, Paige Van Zandt, and Jose Aldo. Then on Thursday, the big one, Kamaru Usman and George Masvidal are going to be up here. Please check back for SCMP MMA on YouTube. Hopefully, I know, Tom, you said you might be able to join me on Thursday, not tomorrow, but hopefully I'll be here tomorrow, maybe with JHK or Chris EB, breaking it down again. It's been a pleasure, Tom. Thanks for joining me, and have a good day. What do you got lined up today? Anything fun?
Nothing fun today. No, maybe some beers tonight, but just working today, and then hopefully kicking back a little bit tonight.
Oh, beer sounds good after this, but I better get home first. All right. Cheers, Tom, and Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, and hopefully see you again tomorrow. SCMP MMA on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. And thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon. Bye.
Hey guys, Sasha Platnikoff here, letting you know to tune in to SCMP Post Fight for all your weekly martial arts news.